see so many familiar faces in this room. I'm so excited to dive into questions from three of our lovely customers, with many other customers represented in the audience as well. If anyone doesn't recognize me, my name is Tara. I'm the manager of customer success based here in Melbourne. So we'd love to grab a coffee for anyone based here, get to know you a little better. We are very, very interested to hear from three quite different brands today, and we've deliberately been quite strategic about picking different industries that can represent their experience with Content Square so far. We also have the benefit of having three customers that have been with Content Square for quite a different period of time as well. So really keen for you to hear from Mel, Barath and Simon from Big Four, Telstra and The Lot Corp today. Let's dive right into questions. And please keep the Slido updated with anything you want to get into after with the Q&A. So first, everybody, really want to hear from you to understand what are the top 3 ways that Content Square makes your life easier?
Should I kick it off? This is on. Hi, guys. For us, Content Square has really made our lives easier. A couple of reasons, actually. One is that Big Four Holiday Parks is a profit-for-purpose organisation, so we are very, very lean. So Content Square is actually talking about, speed to insight this morning. That is a big thing for us. And also the different levels of understanding around data analysis and kind of everyone takes away something from it in their own way, but it's non-confronting, it's not overwhelming. You kind of do what you need to do for kind of your level, what you're comfortable with, which is really nice because sometimes, it can be a bit overwhelming or scary. But also for us, we're going through a bit of a digital transformation at the moment. And without giving away too many secrets, luckily Content Square has actually helped us shape what some of that will look like over the next 6 months.
Bharat here. I am from Melbourne, and I am feeling the cold as well, if it helps. Telstra is a very large organization, and we have like hundreds of users. We have a few platforms, but one of the hard challenges for us is scaling up and getting people onboarded on that platform, because the more people who are closer to data, the more helpful it is. With Content Square, that friction to adoption is very low. And most people who use the tool feel like it's their tool, not a data tool or an analytics tool owned by some other team. So UX, content, product, everyone uses that tool, and that's scaling up. Low adoption friction, I think, is one. The second thing, which I've been lucky enough to work in a few different departments in Telstra, so I asked different people across the business, what do you use it for? How has it helped you? And literally everyone's immediate answer was, if I need to do anything quickly on a page level and really understand what's happening, that's my first tool. And they usually start with a question and know the answer within that same minute. And the third one, which I think would be an interesting use case, which we have sort of stumbled upon, was session replays. For a large organization like Telstra, you can't really understand every segment of users. They come from different spend profiles, different credit scores, different payment systems. And testing those users, even just getting test accounts for all of these, is quite a lot of work. We have found session replay to be really useful because you can segment those user bases and actually watch the recording. And while it doesn't really substitute for customer research, it gets you close enough to that qual lens, and it's handy. You don't have to worry about organizational silos and things like that as well. So those 3, I suppose.
Hi, everybody. I'm Simon from Lottery Corporation. We sell brands like Powerball, Saturday Lotto, among others. So what Content Square really makes easy for us as a large digital and retail platform is the rapid data analysis. So within minutes, that data is available for end users to view. So that really takes the heat out of it from going back to Tableau and all our first-party data sets. Even analytics can have a lag, but yeah, we don't find that with Content Square, which everyone has really spoken to. It's that ease of getting that data out. What else has been really powerful is the segmentation. So you get that question of, how did Powerball perform with 150 million? So you are able to see what's happening there with all your customers, but are these first-time Powerball customers or are they returning customers? So you start to really be able to just change with couple of clicks to start to see what the difference is in trend in behaviour, and therefore people actually can change a campaign mid-campaign rather than post-analysis and then say, oh, next time it comes around I'll do better or change this. They're actually able to impact a campaign while it's happening. And that happens to people that are probably less data inclined or confident to go and extract the data. So once you give them that tool, all of a sudden they're confident enough to get that data and then pass it on to stakeholders, and then the cycle really goes from there.
Amazing. Yes, thank you so much to each of you for sharing those top 3 ways that Content Square makes your life a little easier. And in true Content Square customer form, you've already started to share some stories, which is really helpful because that's what brings our technology to life. And it leads really nicely into our second question. So hopefully you all agree we've seen a lot of use cases already today, but we are constantly asked to share more. So we thought, great opportunity to ask each of you, what's your favourite use case that's come out of Content Square so far? Just your personal favourite. It could be in terms of ROI, but also we talk a lot about operational wins, right? So team efficiencies, time to insight. So what would be your favourite one? We'll maybe start with you, Simon.
For sure. Anyone that did play Powerball, there's a type of ticket you buy which guarantees the Powerball. They call it a power hit. When I first started with the business, it sold less than 10% of the volume of tickets. With all the optimization work we've done with it, the heat map stuff that you're getting back from Content Square, it's approaching 40% of website clicks and sales, over-indexing its performance in the whole market. So therefore, you're encouraging customers that they're actually going to get a win, or have got a higher chance to get a win, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, hard to argue a better customer experience than that, right? Just informing them from the get-go. What about you, Bharath?
My favorite is related to retail. If you're working in retail, you know a lot of your sales comes from 1 or 2 of these big days, Black Fridays, Christmas sales, and things like that. And it happens in a very short time and generates a lot of money for the organization. The general approach is you launch it, pray to God that it works, and then, or who you believe in, and hope it turns out well. One of the things we've tried, which has worked well when we've done it, is rapid optimization. So on the day we launch it, for the first half of the day, we look at the journeys, look at the deals pages, look at our offers, product listing, and see what's working, what's not. And being able to rapidly fix those things, even if it's small, and making that difference. For example, one of those launches, we saw looping behavior, so we put recommendations which make it easier for people to find the products. We found what offers work, not what offers we wanted to sell, so reorganized our offers. We looked at product listing pages to figure out which categories and which product groups were selling better, reorganize that. Seems simple enough, but that's 10x, 20x increase in sales for a day. So that's probably my favorite use case.
I love that so much, Bharath, and I'm so happy that you reiterated that it is very simple, because I think that is a misconception that I experience in customer success at Content Square. Customers in experimentation, digital experience analytics, they often think that we're going to surface silver bullets every time. And look, they're fun and great, but I really want to double tap on what you were saying about sometimes it's the simple things that have really not a lot of time investment, but the return is absolutely incredible for what you actually had to do, like moving a bit of content, right, which we saw quite a bit this morning. So good to keep those in mind. And what about you, Mel?
I have 2.
Yeah, please. Oh my gosh. Oh no, just one, please.
No, really similar to that. Obviously, Click Frenzy was, a couple of weeks ago, and one of our pages, we were doing a bit of a deep dive because there was just sudden conversion drop off, and so we managed to isolate that to it was actually mobile that was letting us down. So really quickly, thanks to our partners at AB Tasty, you guys can pay me later, we managed to make some really quick on-the-fly changes and kind of saw that conversion rate start to pick straight back up, and kind of without Content Square and being able to, isolate by device, we wouldn't have been able to optimize that one button. And it was just one button and making it a accessible color as opposed to some of the other artwork. And it was a really good use case for the rest of the business. And my other favorite one is checkout. If anyone's been on Big Four, our checkout is a bit clunky at the moment. And what it's really done is we found some insights to see that customers were kind of really struggling at really different points in the journey. So we've actually started a whole series of tests around kind of isolating what the behaviour is at each step of the journey. And it's been really, really validating to kind of run that exercise of, cool, what's the analysis of friction points? What can we potentially do from a experimentation point of view? And also, like, it literally kind of tripled a certain user that it was exposed to by running this A/B test. And so what we've done is that that's actually managed to inform some of our front-end changes down the line for the checkout. Still lots to come on that one.
Yeah, but I think, as you say, like, it's a good problem to have too many things that you're aware of that you can get to at some point, right? Rather than not knowing what you need to work on.
Yes,
I think we can
exactly.
agree. Yeah. Amazing. And, you know, I referenced this at the start, but actually each of you represent brands that have been customers for quite different periods of time with Content Square. So I'd really like to hear, and for everyone in the audience as well, you know, Barath, Telstra's been a customer for what, like 6, 7 years or whatever it is? Yeah, 6 years. Oh, we'll go with 6. I think it's 7, guys, whatever. I'm only joking. But, you know, so you are the kind of, you're representing the longest standing customer on this specific panel. And then, Simon, I think we just celebrated sort of like 18 months with the Lot Corp, and then Mel a little bit more recent with you guys. So we'll start with you, Barath, but what would you say has been the experience referencing sort of intervals of time with Content Square? So like 1 month versus 6 months in versus a bit longer than that.
Sure. I think when we started it, it was this promise of, oh, this heat maps look good. Let's give this a go. We weren't really fully sure what use cases are going to kind of be tapped into, I suppose. But it looked interesting, and it was adding a dimension which other analytics tools weren't doing it. Fast forward maybe a year or so, I think it's just the realization that the tool has other capabilities which you can use. You kind of have the stage where you are scaling it up for a lot of users, the middle. So you have these high volume use cases which are sort of very common. We've started using more session replay, more journey analysis. But we also had this training and adoption program set up so that people can actually get into the tool and start learning about it and using it, I suppose. But considering our industry and a lot of the data hacks and other things that happen in this market as well over the last few years, Telstra in general does take customer data and privacy quite seriously, and we had to proceed with caution. So we were very careful about how much we expose in session replay, how much we use in e-commerce, how well we integrate it with other platforms. Having seen that for 6 or 7 years now, I think our risk profile has changed a little bit. The market is also at a place where you can't get more customers. You have to kind of profit, and retention becomes a big thing. So you have to like make sure your platforms work well and the people you get actually convert. So we've started integrating it with a lot of other platforms like New Relic, Adobe, and things like that. And what it does is, let's say someone has a failure through an API, you can actually session replay and see what their experience was. Or if Adobe has a ML-based segment which you want to target, you can understand how they've done, or experimentation, how did 2 different experiments perform. So it's sort of in that phase now where we are comfortable with the risk. We are implementing it in our digital assets like app as well. Very curious to see how that'll go. We just had a conversation
Same.
last week. And we are integrating it with other platforms, and pretty much everyone in Telstra's digital team is using the platform now in 3 digits in terms of user adoption, I think. So that's where we are at.
Yeah, so hundreds of users, but your point, which I totally agree with, by the way, is that it didn't start like that.
Yeah, it didn't start.
It was a phased approach, and that's also something that I think is really important to embrace. You're not doing anything wrong by having a first phase that you kind of want to start with as an emphasis. For you were saying it was heat maps was the entry point, but then there was plenty more to build on from there. It doesn't have to all happen overnight. Absolutely. And Barath, you touched on a topic of adoption, which I know that we're going to talk about a little bit later as well, but it made me think, Simon, we've had like similar conversations for the Lot Corp as well about, you know, you might start with a certain group that kind of get it right away, and then from there maybe do a little bit more almost like internal PR for what Content Square can help with. Has that been like a good summary of your experience over the time you've been working with us?
Yeah, that's probably fair. What we probably have is a group more of super users who are incredibly strong with the platform, who almost find themselves as the gateway or the people that get tapped on the shoulder going, oh, how do I bring that up? And what was that part of the tool again? Which I guess you get. But yeah, I think it's probably like, it is the easiest analytics tool, especially with the in-browser plugin, but sometimes people want to do more analysis rather than gleaning multiple stats. But from an implementation point of view, I think the thing that we'd probably redo again that we probably didn't do was we took the, as you would, privacy is absolutely paramount. So we masked every number or identity possible field, which now in review, we're hiding prices of what products we're hiding certain titles, so we don't actually, when you are going through those session replays, you're like, oh, did they actually add that product and was the price correct? We don't actually have that level of detail and then rely on another analytics tool to get that deep. So that's probably something we'll look to pick up over the next piece, but until you put the program in and then actually start working with it, you're not going to get to that point in time.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point to touch on. And I think just in case anyone in the room is not 100% following there, we have a few different ways to mask personally identifiable information, so PII. All of them are vetted across our global company, so that every single one is used by a number of customers all around the world. Simon's referring to our highest level of security, which is called auto anonymization, where some of you will recognize this, but every single character for your session replays is replaced with an A, and therefore everything becomes gibberish, and you can't make out numbers and names and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to make sure everyone had that context, because I think that is feedback I hear a lot from customers that do go that route at the beginning. Actually, that risk aversion, you kind of start with the most risk aversion, but then you realize the others are maybe a better balance for what you were looking for at the beginning. So just something to consider there. And Mel, I would love to hear from you next, please.
Yeah, so we've only been a Content Square customer for 12 months and a little bit more. Initially, when we jumped on board, everyone was really excited. I think basically our whole company jumped in on the training sessions, and then there was this intrinsic fear to be like, oh my God, it's actually, how do I start? And kind of a little bit of handballing. Partially what we've realised is everyone's on a different journey. And so there was a bit of acceptance within our whole team to be like, okay, not everyone's going to jump on board and not everyone's going to dive in straight away, much to my impatience. But what we've actually also implemented, we did a lunch and learn recently, and that really kind of helped people kind of be like, okay, actually it's not that scary, and actually that's really relevant for me. I really want to know more about that. And another kind of initiative we're thinking about doing is, we're going to do, is implementing a bit of a CX time, which is a conversation, and that will kind of do that reiteration demo of different things. Different parts of the business might come with different questions, and also just kind of show just that continuous message to be like, this is the value, is what it brings. This could be relevant for you. This might not be relevant for you, and that's totally okay. Yeah.
I love that so much, and when Mel and I were talking prior to the session as well, I just think that it's so important not to set that expectation everyone should be using every tool the same way. When you say it out loud, it sounds a bit silly, right? But that can be the kind of default assumption, and it sounds like, like many customers of ours, that was the default assumption at the beginning. But I always say there's no wrong frequency to log into the tool, as long as you're just getting what you need and you're able to understand the data that is relevant to your role. So yeah, really important not to have that default assumption there. And yeah, just keep that continuous exposure to what is available out there as well. Look, guys, we've already, which is great, started to talk about a lot of adoption tips, but because it's a question we get a lot, more on that kind of change management side, I guess it's not just tech, but also embracing it as part of your culture. I'd love to just double tap on some of the themes we've already started to talk about around what's it actually been like to encourage other teams to adopt Content Square, and maybe specifically, do you have any tips, like Mel's great tip around lunch and learns, that you want to share with the audience? Anything you feel worked really well?
For a large organization, at least if you're an analytics team, there's a temptation to just put everything you can think of and switch on everything you want. So I would say start small. The second thing, if you're in product, you will see a lot of benefit in reducing friction. The same thing with tools as well. We have category-specific workspaces, category-specific dashboards, journeys all set up. So when people are starting their journey, whether you're in UX, CX, product, you have a base platform and base data to kind of work with. The third, which I think we are very proud of and fairly unique, I would think, is both from a leadership perspective and from a team's perspective, we have mandated certain levels of maturity for different roles. So if you're in digital, we have a level 1, which everyone needs to do. If you're in product, you need to be level 3. If you're an expert, you need to be level 4. If you're someone who's more an exec, you need to be in level 2 sort of thing. And each of them have specific learning paths, specific things you need to do, and actions need to complete. One, it's driven from a leadership level, so it's mandated. That itself drives adoption. Second, that when people do know about what you can do with it, that itself just changes the speed of adoption quite a lot. And finally, like any good thing, you need more people than yourself. So you need a lot of people who can evangelize and promote it. We have experimentation cafes Tara has been a part of, where different people come and present what they've used it for and what they've learned from this tool. Obviously, it's based on experimentation, but when people see the tool being used and showcased, that drives it. And we have a lot of presentations between our teams when we launch new products. And every time a UXer comes and presents, they at least have one Content Square related screenshot. So those sort of things organically kind of boost that loop, I guess. So those are the 4 tips, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a key theme there, right, is just sharing. It doesn't have to be mind-blowing every time, but just like exactly what you were saying there, Mel, around like exposure. Over time, you're naturally going to get more and more internal champions, as you spoke about there, Bharath. Absolutely. Simon, I saw you smiling partway through the Bharath's answer there. You got something to share with the room?
No, I'm just happy to be here. But yeah, look, exactly.
He's from Sydney.
No. So I think what it is we've built it into actually even our deployment of personalised experiences and when we deploy a test. So there's a man back there named Manoj, smiley fella.
Shout out.
So I built this into the test because what's really important is also you can do the lunch and learns, and we've tried, we've ran in-house training, but building it into our team's deployment process, make sure that we're building, I guess putting it into it's the process, and therefore we're always leaning on Content Square to make sure that we've got evidence should there be any analytics questions from our digital analytics platform. We've got and when you're putting together a report, it's so much easier to convey the message with a nice simple screenshot showing attractiveness rate, click rate, path to conversion, rather than sitting there trying to put a table in and then just talking to a number. So in that, building it into the process, we've done that, and we've run the in-house training, which we have a lot of people come and turn up to. But really trying to build it into their processes is challenging. But yeah, we never give up, and we'll just keep trying. But hopefully they find it easier as well.
Absolutely, and I think a lot like the whole concept of continual iteration in experimentation, if you get 1% more or one person more each week or month, like you're going to build an incredible community internally over time. So there's nothing wrong with the slow but sure approach at all. I'm interested to swap to some Slido questions now. Get ready, everybody. The first question that we've got is build an app versus better mobile experience. Which gets your vote? So I think it's probably directed to Simon and Bharath a bit more there. I think the audience wants to know which you feel is more impactful, which do you invest?
I'd probably take a look at what my mobile traffic penetration was first and see if they were struggling to meet the KPIs. If they were getting it, if there was a lot of mobile traffic and they were successfully getting it done and there wasn't competition, well, there's probably not a need to go and invest to build an app, because I guess then the question is you're trying to build every feature or parity into an app from a website that is probably going to be quite economically able to do it.
What a great data-driven answer. Love that. Love that. Bharath, do you have anything to add just from...
It probably also depends on what you want to drive. If it's acquisition, obviously, app is a lot harder. If you're doing upsell, retention, service experiences, app is much better. in general, I've found it, you need a bit of both. And if you're early in the journey, it's probably mobile experience first, because the app is harder to start. You can just start with a facade and just link it all to mobile experiences, I guess, as a start.
Yeah. I completely agree with that summary, and it's actually reminding me of a conversation I had with another customer who's here, Mydeal. I think I saw Kelly walk in. If anyone, oh, excellent, over there. Kelly's a great person to speak to about the balance of mobile web versus app. We've had a really similar conversation not long ago. Another question from the audience would be, to what extent are you prioritizing mobile experience over desktop? This is from Dave. So Dave Anderson, it's not anonymous. I think it's a leading question. Mobile or desktop was the crux there.
I mean, mobile.
Yeah. Correct. Cool. Enough said. Mel, anything to add?
Where's the next question?
Yeah.
Where is that going?
I think Dave is trying to make sure that we just have good representation for being mobile first. We feel like we're still having that conversation a lot of the time, but plug for mobile first in everything we do. Amazing. So we have, this one is so great. What are the analysis metrics that you've found have helped you further understand your customer the best? So within Content Square, do any specific metrics come to mind that have really helped you better understand the customer experience?
There's so many.
I was hoping you'd say that.
All of them. Exposure rate. Yeah. Exposure rate, as well as click rate, obviously. But when you look at the two together, that's really powerful.
Yeah. Exposure rate is good. Clicks are good, like click rate. Recently, we had this whole product page redesigns where time to click was interesting because we wanted to figure out which ones people are leaning on when they make choices.
So when someone clicks something, how long on average did it take them in seconds to click that thing? So you get like a chronological order of relatively where people are clicking. Yeah, it's a really good one, especially if you've got quite a lot of information on the page and you're trying to understand exposure time is another good one there. Absolutely. Yep. Sorry. After you, Simon.
Click to conversion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good one there.
You've got a home page or you've got a page, there's 10 products on it, and those 10 products are littered throughout your site. And then all of a sudden you get asked by so many people they bought my product, what page did they buy it from, where is it most successful? And it's just, it's there right in front of them. You don't have to go and extract a ton of data and do analysis or make segments in a digital analytics tool. Content Square just visually gives you the answer without, you don't need a degree to go do that.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're at time. I would love to keep having this conversation. I'm sure there's maybe more questions from the audience as well. So please don't be afraid. I think we're all very friendly and happy to answer any questions over an espresso martini. Thank you for being here. See you really soon.